Hello again, this is Charlie Bellefontaine, and you're listening to the Chicago Housing Experts right here on WCPT AM 820. And we have both Steve and Patrick in the studio and Joey remote.
I am a real estate lawyer. I handle real estate transactions. If you are selling your home, find me. If you're buying your home, find me. You can find me on social media, on TikTok, Loftus Law, on Instagram, Loftus_law. Basically anywhere that you Google Loftus Law, Chicago real estate lawyer, I'm going to be right there in your face, man, with hard
That's the longest
real
introduction
estate
ever.
talk.
I know.
That's not true. I've gone much longer than that.
That is true. Never mind, I shouldn't say that.
But you can get hold of all these guys and myself if you go over to Chicago Housing Experts and join our community. And that's going to be the best place that you could ask questions and we give immediate answers. Our goal is to help everybody, whether you're buying or selling. We want to do as much as we can. And we do have Joey remotely, who is definitely my favorite mortgage broker in the entire world. Joey, if you don't mind, give us the introduction.
Why, hello, my name is Joey Mathews, NMLS 1330694, the VA Loan Nerd. You can find me at thevaloannerd.com, across all the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. Yeah, you can call or text me. You can do that. And I know what Charlie wants to know is this Wednesday update in the mortgage market, not the housing market, because that's Steven. Steven Davis is our housing market expert.
I know some things.
Just a big, dumb mortgage dork. So this morning we have Donald Trump going nuts on Jerome Powell, which tells me that he doesn't like the dot plot that he expects Dowell to put out there. And the dot plot is essentially Powell and the Fed saying their anticipated rate cuts, not rate cuts, where they anticipate the futures of the Fed funds rate, right? That is going to be in 4 hours where they decide not to move rates, because they won't. In 4 hours, they will not be moving rates. They will also release their dot plot for where they anticipate the Fed funds rate to be end of year through the next couple of years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, we're going to see super volatile reactions because anytime you get any information, people don't know whether to buy or sell, so they do both.
Nice.
It's fun. And then Jerome Powell will be talking in 4.5 hours. So, and today is obviously Wednesday, June 18th. So you are either listening to this live on Facebook or this is old news and you're listening to us on Saturday morning and this has all already happened and the information doesn't matter whatsoever anymore. But that's where we're at. And again, I know I've been saying it for frickin' ever. I feel like I'm saying it in perpetuity, but we are still trading in this very, very narrow range in the MBS markets. So rates have not changed significantly over the last 6 months. Go buy your houses, people. Go buy your houses, people.
So the dot plot dot plopped is what you're saying.
That's certainly, it seems to be what Donald Trump is believing is going to happen. Because Jerome Powell's so stupid, that big dumb idiot, blah blah blah.
Thank you for treating me seriously. I appreciate
At least we're gonna get some nice American flags on the north and south lawns of the White House, though. That's hard hitting stuff.
Hard hitting real estate talk.
And my name is, I'm going to jump in. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. And, you know, we always like to talk about things that have happened in the last week and, you know, what I think are mistakes, whether it's ours or clients or anybody else's. But everything is to learn from these sort of things. And just yesterday, I did a Zoom call with a client, and I really need all three of you to chime in on this and tell me what you think, you know, should happen. It was a gigantic home up in Lake Bluff. I want to say it was like $1.75 million home that we did. It had a wood shingle, not a wood shake, but a wood shingle roof on it. The roof was roughly about 30 years old. You could see that there's a whole bunch of rot. Part of it was replaced. Sections, like little pieces, were also being maintained. And it's at the point where you can nurse it and you can keep bringing somebody out there, or you could go ahead and get everything replaced. And I was just taken back, and I really want to hear your thought on this. I was taken back because as I'm going over the pictures with my client, and I'm looking at the pictures of the roof, and I could see that the shingles are missing. I could see that they're rotted. I could see that there's tons of algae and moss growing on these shingles. The roof's in obvious bad shape, all right? It wasn't leaking, so because it wasn't an active leak, the opinion on my inspector, he just color-coded it orange. And as I'm going over this and I'm talking about the issues on the roof and talking to the client, he came back to me and he goes, well, your inspector marked it as orange, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And I'm like, you're looking at a $200,000 home here. I mean, a $200,000 roof here,
Nice.
that comes on this. This thing is a big deal. And the color coding that we put in our reports is strictly our opinions. And I don't always agree with our inspectors. And I mean, there's an old saying that opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one and they usually stink and stuff. And it's like, why would you trust or base purchasing $1.75 million on somebody else's opinion? It's your money. Your opinion is the only one that's going to go on there. And then all of a sudden his eyes lit up. And once we started getting the prices, he's like, I don't want to take on that liability. And I'm like, I don't blame you. I don't either. But I need help understanding this because my brain doesn't work this way. Why do people think that they just, and I get this all the time, well, let's go over the red items. No, we go over every item because if it's important to you, that's what we need to discuss, what you're willing to accept and not expect,
Why are you pointing at me?
Because you're the one with the opinions.
You loudmouth!
You just said what you think about opinions, and so I don't feel very comfortable with the way you've characterized it.
Patrick's out, Steve's in.
Trigger.
The way I see it, and Charlie, you can tell me if this is the wrong approach, but just wait for the next strong wind to blow off a few shingles, and then get your insurance company to pay for it.
Oh.
Why or why not is that a good approach?
Are you asking me? Are you turning this right back on me?
Let's
think
hear
we asked Joey.
Let's hear your opinion.
Nope, I'm out.
Oh, Joey loves
don't
talking
want
about roofs. Joey, you want to give your roof story?
No, I do not. I can't wait to get a new roof.
Well, let's talk this out because this is another thing that happened about 3 months ago. We did an inspection, 1,200 square foot Chicago bungalow, south side of the city. We tell our clients that the roof is 3/4 of its lifespan. All right, no leaking, no problems whatsoever, but it looked old, and we documented all that.
So you actually told them that.
We always do. We
Right.
give our estimate to
Just-
where we think
Yeah.
that roof is in its lifespan.
Sure.
All right. They go ahead and they purchased a home. They weren't worried about the roof. They were like, well, it's not leaking. We know we're going to have to replace it soon and blah, blah, blah. They were fine. And then 3 months later go by and they ended up getting a letter from their insurance company. And the letter comes back and says that you need to replace your roof and you got 45 days to do it. All right. And so the problem here when you're dealing with construction, it goes back to 3 words. And this is a joke, but it's true. You get good, fast, and cheap. And you only get 2. And when the insurance company takes away the fast, because it has to be fast now you got to get rid of good or cheap. You really don't want to get rid of good when we're talking about the roof. So that means you lost cheap and you're going to pay out the nose for it, And when we looked this thing up, yeah, I know I was going to say a bad word. I'm
I get
sorry.
rid
You
of
guys
good all
knew
day
it.
long. I'm a
I'm a
cheapskate.
giggler.
But it's like, we look it up on HomeWise, and this roof should have cost somewhere around $12,000. This couple paid $32,000. This roofer saw them as a mark, and
That's
bam,
a serious mark.
It
That's
happens
3 times
all
the amount.
time.
3
I've
times the
seen
amount.
It 4 times as much.
Oh, wow.
All right, and this is again.
This is also why you get some different quotes.
Well, that's true. But if people run these things by me, I could go ahead and run it through cost estimating calculators, and they could see about what that should be. And I get it. What Patrick makes fun of me because I call them the billboard companies. When you see people advertising on the billboards or TV commercials and so forth,
Guess who's paying for it?
we are. Absolutely.
The first call should be to another insurance company.
Man, is that the smartest thing ever.
They're not all created equal. In fact, they're all different, believe it or not. Yes, they sell the same product, but it's like saying that Snickers, Milky Way, and Twix are the same thing.
They are.
They're similar. They are?
Sort of. They're chocolate.
Well, you've never trick or treated then, because you don't understand the hierarchy of candy bars. But in the world of people that do understand how that works, Charlie, who doesn't, they're similar, but they're not the same, right? And so if you need nougat, don't get a Twix, right? So, what does that mean in this context? No one knows. But the point is that State Farm, okay, or, Fate Starm, whatever. I know I'm not supposed to name check, but,
Fate Starm?
We're Programa Pagado, so it doesn't matter who we name check, because we're Programa Pagado, we're paid programming. So I can say whatever I want about whomever, unless it's like, someone that actually sponsors this radio station, and then they'll just bleep me out. But, the point is that if one insurance company has one set of criteria, another insurance company may have a completely different set of criteria to issue insurance. And really, you're only looking at what are their criteria in terms of me having to buy a new roof within the next 6 weeks. And if one is going, yes, absolutely has to have it, or we're terminating, and the other goes, no, we can wrap that into the underwriting decision and take on the risk without that, then go with the other one, especially if they're comparably priced. I mean, don't go ultra cheap on insurance. It's a bad idea. Don't do
that's
that.
what this couple did, by the way.
This is really an intriguing conversation, and I tell you why. Because I am going through. We just got it approved, and
He's
I
a
have
Three Musketeers guy.
I still have absolutely no idea how.
I know better than to interrupt Steve, because he will absolutely.
So I have no idea
derail.
how my clients, or how we got this done, but normally the larger insurance companies are, they have more. Their underwriting is tougher. They don't approve it. You have to go through a different type of insurance company, and like you were mentioning, Charlie, is so many insurance companies are dropping people now in their policies because of the work on the roof. And the thing is, right now I have a client who is we disclosed that the roof is older and eventually will have to be replaced, whether it's 2-5 years, whatever, but there is no water infiltration or anything like that, and the fact is it's just an older roof and it's slowly falling apart. But the point is that we were working, they had one insurance policy, and that insurance policy required, in order for us to get it clear to close, the lender required, and the insurance company has to say it is a guaranteed replacement. And what's interesting about that is
does that mean?
that
I don't know. I never heard that before.
I had never either. Basically what it means is it's saying that the roof can go ahead, and we know that the roof needs to be replaced, and we know that we need to get quotes. We know we have to deal with that. And the guaranteed replacement aspect means that the insurance company will cover it. But what has happened is that the insurance company they currently have are like, no, we're not giving you guaranteed replacement because you need to replace the roof, so we cannot insure that. So we had to figure out an insurance company that would handle it. And you know what the insurance company did? Or the actual insurance company that actually is handling this is one that you would never, ever assume would do it. And they gave us that, and we know we have to get a new roof, and my client can sell the property because the whole building was non-warrantable. It became non-warrantable. And we all know how much fun that is, trying to sell the condo or refinance or whatever. So the point is that with this is that insurance companies can make or break a deal. And when you drop the insurance company, or you have an insurance company that comes to you and says, oh, hey, your roof needs to be replaced, there's no reason for them to go after someone who disclosed what it is. Now, if you didn't disclose that and that's part of your job, well, then obviously there's probably a case to be made. But that would be a legal ramification, which Patrick would know. However,
let me add on to a little bit onto that, please. We mentioned State Farm, and I'm going to give them a little bit of kudos. All right, and the reason is I get it. We see all the advertising. We get so much hail damage that comes through the neighborhood, and the rules know that the rules are that the insurance company, if there's so many pox, they're going to go ahead and replace the roof because of nail damage. The roofers know this. They know how to identify it. They know what the rules are. They could go ahead and get you a new insurance company. Well, the insurance companies, they want to protect the liability of it. So they're going to be more aggressive, at least they started this in the last year, about making sure that these roofs are newer and replaced so that you pay for it instead of the insurance company paying for it. And the reason why I want to give State Farm kudos, and it might get in your way from getting the deal going through, they tell you up front, all right? They let the client know up front that it's not going to go through. We're not going to insure this right from the beginning. You need to find somebody else, or you have to get a new roof on here. All
State
right?
Farm is the one that's actually insuring it.
Which is fantastic.
Which I'm like, what?
You know, that's
Because
fantastic.
they're hard.
but
They're difficult. Because they're so,
That evolves, though.
that's where I was going. Go on.
And so, one particular insurance company might be in a good position financially, and so they're able to let more things go at that point in time. I mean, understand that the insurance company's business is to sell you an insurance policy, and the more people they can get in that risk pool, the better off they are. And when things go south, when they have a huge number of claims made on their policies, like say where most of them have kind of vacated in South Florida, it starts to not make sense, because if the risk pool contains too many people that are going to make claims, it's a bad risk pool. But at the end of the day, insurance companies want to sell you policies, and the more hurdles they put in front of you to sell a policy to you, the less likely you are to be a customer of theirs. And a lot of people are going to do what I said to do, which is to call another insurance company that is in a better financial position. So if State Farm right now, and I know,
they're usually very difficult, though, and somehow
sometimes
they're taking the risk.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. The State Farm has made a decision. For example, they've stated that their auto insurance premiums are going to be reduced beginning July 1st, which I'm pretty pleased as a policyholder. Again, not an endorsement. Go make your own decision on insurance. I'm only a recent convert to State Farm. I used to use another company, but they want to sell these policies to people. They want to maintain their reputation. If an insurance company has a reputation of being difficult about insuring and being super difficult about paying claims, they're not going to be an insurance company with a good reputation for much longer. Their reputation is going to decline, and they're going to reduce, and it's that in and of itself is a negative feedback loop where people start to not even consider them for insurance. So as much as it seems like they've got us exactly where they want us, which in a lot of cases they do, they still have to compete against other like insurance companies to maintain us as insureds, because it's a simple phone call to another insurance company to switch my coverage, and that new insurance company will do everything for me to make sure that it's all sorted. So it's that simple. I'm not that loyal. I do not care if I'm not getting treated right. So, it's not always going to be we're getting abused by insurance companies. Make them work for it.
And I'm not saying that they're being abused. I mean, State Farm, when it comes to homeowners insurance, they are the big dog. They have the most amount of policies.
In Illinois, they are.
And I would say Progressive is right up there, right behind them as a close second. All right, that comes in there.
They're not an Illinois-based company, so we don't like to talk about them. We should really be bigging up our local economy. We've got State
Should have seen
Farm,
them at breakfast, Joey.
the State
Oh,
Farm in
cow.
Bloomington. We've got
We'll just
Allstate.
talk over Patrick right now.
Allstate here in Northbrook. We got Country Financial down in Bloomington. There are good, hard-working insurance companies based right here in Illinois that
God
you can
bless.
be customer of.
Good, I got you back.
Instead of this nonsense where you're going to some New York City-based
Oh, my gosh.
insurance company.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I think I just heard one of those chili commercials in that. Joey, where does the insurance come in? I mean, on your end with the mortgages and stuff like that.
Actually,
You
salsa.
don't really care what insurance they get, do you?
Man, as long as they're going to be covered and we qualify that in the payments, that's all we care about, man. That's
But
all
there's
we
a
care
lot
about.
of things that aren't covered. I've heard people telling me horror stories where, they get a roof leak or something like that on an older roof, and all of it, and the damage isn't covered, and stuff like that. They're like, no, that's lack of maintenance or, something like that. I mean,
Well, there's the minimum that Joey's going to require, right? Like, Joe, you've got in your underwriting guidelines like a minimum set of requirements, and you would convey that to the insurance company, or they probably already know it, right?
Yeah, for a condo policy, we're going to need 25% of either the replacement cost or the loan amount for minimum coverage, because we know that there's a HOA policy or a condo, or the HOA master policy that covers pretty much everything. It's just a walls-in policy for condos. With the homeowners, typical homeowner policy, a single-family house, we're looking for 100% of the loan amount coverage or replacement cost estimator coverage from the insurance company. The replacement cost estimator tells you how much it would cost to rebuild the property, right?
Is that public information that anybody can get,
optional
Joey?
coverage and the dwelling coverage. So dwelling plus option, we have to meet or exceed 100%. That is not public information. That would come from your insurance agent.
Company. Yep.
Now, understand, let me piggyback on what Joey just said. Those are the minimums necessary to qualify for a loan. But you need to understand that the minimums may not be good enough for what you have, right? If you've got really nice cabinets, hand-built Amish cabinets, and you've got really high-end flooring.
Why they gotta be Amish?
Because they build good stuff by hand.
They
Well,
really do.
many companies.
They really do.
I mean, you're just
Focus,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
They
Focus.
have a particular reputation for building good stuff. I mean, you know.
there's other companies.
There's other real estate
I
companies
mean, we
too.
can go to IKEA. IKEA's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I could,
And
you know,
they give you a lot of extra parts. But
I could
we're
try to go
digressing.
snobby and say, I don't have a house full of IKEA furniture, but that would be a lie. So, you know, I'm a cheapskate, like I said earlier. But
I believe that's frugal.
sure, I like that word better,
Yeah.
but I am a cheapskate. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But here's the point I'm trying to make: is that you need to be thinking beyond just what the minimum is that your insurance company wants in terms of qualifying for the loan. So if you do have let's say you've got a lot of fancy photography equipment or a lot of fancy recording equipment or something like that. Take that into consideration as far as what the limits are. You have to imagine that, God forbid, your place burns to the ground and everything you own is reduced to ashes, which has happened to a couple of people I know, unfortunately. If your insurance limits are 20 grand and it's going to cost you 50 grand to replace all your stuff, including everything from the walls in, just close your eyes unless you're driving and imagine everything inside the walls of your home and think about imagine what it would cost to replace all that stuff. So if your lender is requiring minimum 30 grand and you think all day long I got 75 grand worth of stuff in there, you may want a higher limit. It may cost you more, but at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable with what, if anything, may come out of your pocket in the worst case scenario.
And that's what I kind of like to repeat to people on every aspect when you're buying a home, when we do our inspections. Everybody has a different risk tolerance, all right? And the point I'm trying to make here is it really doesn't matter what my risk tolerance is. It matters what your risk tolerance is and how much you're willing to do. If you only want to buy the cheapest insurance and you want to protect the mortgage people and you're fine with all your stuff going, that's your choice. All right, but don't come, back at somebody else saying, or the insurance company, well, you should have told me to get more.
Well, let me add on to that and perhaps disagree somewhat. And that is, I agree in principle with what you're saying, which is that it's up to you to decide what your level of risk is. But if your insurance agent is not explaining this stuff in detail, I would suggest you might be with the wrong insurance agent. And I would say that the vast majority of insurance agents that I've dealt with, heard of, third hand, whatever, they're basically quoting prices because at the end of the day, most people are shopping on prices, just like Joey, get ready. Most people shopping Joey are shopping on his rate, even though that's wrong.
Now you're just trying to trigger me.
But the better insurance companies, just like the better loan officers like Joey, are going to take it a step further and explain what does this insurance cover? What doesn't it cover? Why would I select X limit? What finishes do you have in your home? Do you have pergo floors, or do you have, natural oak, wood floors? Do you have linoleum? I mean, these are all things that are going to affect your choice in terms of the limits. Just like there's more than just the interest rate when it comes to choosing a mortgage. Is that correct or no, Joey?
Man, just going after a rate. That's a great way to never close. It's a great way to never close.
But Joey,
It's actually really, that's really good because that makes a lot of sense.
But it's not that simple, all right? And I've been, recently I started coaching throughout the nation, and one of the biggest complaints that I get from them is, well, people call me up and they ask me what the price is of the home inspection. And I'm like, and what do you do? And they go, well, I give them the price. I answer their question. Here's the bottom line is, Patrick, nobody knows real estate law better than you. If I'm a home buyer, I don't know what makes a good real estate attorney. I don't know what makes a good real estate broker. I don't know what makes a good real estate mortgage broker, all right? And I don't know what makes a good home inspector, all right? So now it's my job as the home inspector to be able to have all that information of what sets us apart and why we're the best choice that comes in there. And if I can't get that in my client's head, that's on me. Now, I get the old horse to water drinking and all that stuff. I get it, all right? But the point is, if I don't give that information to the client, then I have absolutely no chance that they're going to even try to understand it to choose us. Because if they're basing everything on cost, we are not a commodity. Everybody is different.
That goes
everything out.
That goes with all of us.
All of it. That's what I meant to
I
say.
mean,
Joey, what do you say when someone calls you and goes, "What rates are you quoting today?" What would be your response?
I love these
would you
responses
just
from lenders. These
would
are
you just
awesome.
give them a rate, or would you actually have a much more in-depth conversation with them?
I need to have a more in-depth conversation with them because at the end of the day, the rates are not some like. All right.
Dude,
I know, right?
Joey.
Take some time, collect your
Yeah,
thoughts.
take a deep breath.
I'll talk about my shoes and when
Everybody's
you're ready.
trading off the same information. Everybody's trading off the same information. Sometimes some of our investors get a little bit more aggressive. Sometimes they're not. At the end of the day, what is going to matter more on closing day? That you have a house or that you have this rate that never really existed? Because I've had it happen several times now. And I've told you guys this story. I had the woman a couple months ago. I think it was actually a referral from Charlie, where she went with what was quoted as the lower rate. They were quoting a 6 1/4. I was quoting a 6.875 at that time. At that time, right? Conventional loan, whatever. And I was like, hey, dude, if that's real, which I know it's not, go for it all day long. So by the time, and there were no points, none of this stuff. The loan estimate was clean. I was like, cool, it's not locked, but whatever, sure.
Ooh, it's not locked. What does that mean?
It means that there's a high chance of a bait and switch situation, which is exactly what
That's
happens.
exactly
They
what I
locked
was
her.
thinking.
They locked her a week before closing at a 7 1/4, charging her a point.
How do I know if it's locked?
There's a little button on the top right of your loan estimate that says locked,
It's a
yes
box.
or no.
And it
if
gets
it says
checked.
yes, you're right. It's not a button. It's a checkbox. You're right, dog. Yeah, but I mean everybody's trading off the same information. There's not some unicorn rate. Everybody's looking for this unicorn rate. It happens all the time. And the other piece is, man, I help people get offers accepted. I have literally had in Michigan, up in what was it? Is it South Holland? A list agent.
I know where that is.
It was a VA
Good for
offer. The list agent recognized my name from the pre-approval. It was a VA loan. She's like, "No, this is what we're taking because I know this is getting closed." I got the freaking loan because a list agent that I did not know knew me, right? Reputations precede themselves. I help buyers get houses, just not through reputation, but through activity, through work ethic, through never having a loan denied. Like, that matters. Those things matter to agents. They want to know, is my seller going to sell this house or not, right? And I like to give that little peace of mind. But yeah, I mean, we're all trading off the same crap. If someone is super aggressive, I just don't trust it so much.
What Joey's saying when he says we're all trading off the same numbers, it's what he's really saying is that every every mortgage broker has the same product to offer you, which is a loan at a certain rate. And that rate is going to be virtually identical no matter which mortgage broker you reach out to and ask them to quote you give you a loan estimate, quote you a rate, whatever it is, whatever it is that you're trying to get. And if you are trying to be the best consumer of a mortgage loan, conventional FHA, VA, whatever, you should find the mortgage broker, the loan officer with the best reputation for hustling their ever-loving tush off for their clients. That is the differentiating factor among mortgage brokers, is how bad do they want to get their borrowers qualified? How badly do they want to make sure you get in that home? And if you're just picking someone because they've decided, hey, I cannot compete any other way than to show you some magical interest rate that doesn't really exist, just know that if someone can quote you an interest rate that's a lot lower than what anyone else is quoting you, you need to be extremely suspicious.
You better read that fine print at the bottom of the page. That's tiny where you can't even see it.
Yeah, and everything comes in there, and it's our job as the good people in the industry, I guess. I'm sorry if I'm...
The great people in the industry.
Great people in the industry. I'm sorry if I'm putting anyone else down.
You can be good.
But it's our job to go ahead and make sure that we let people know why. Not just, well, because I'm better. You know, that's not good enough. We need to go ahead and make that list of what comes across. I know you are.
I am amazing.
But we still need to be able to express why we're better. We have to have a list. It's never one item. It's going to always be a bunch of items, and people get harmed by just bad actors that are out there. And yes, I get frustrated.
They get harmed by themselves.
They get harmed by themselves.
Making bad decisions.
If you call someone up and you go, hey, what's your price? And they go, my price is, whatever it is. And you go, cool. And you hang up the phone. What a bad interaction that just was.
Well, here you go.
We're not talking about candy bars here. I was talking about candy bars earlier.
So
no, I'm not.
It's interesting you bring that up, because here's something that I get now, especially with the NAR settlement and so on, is that I am all obviously 100% referrals. So I don't, no billboards, no expires, no FSBOs, no cold calls. And I met in front of someone for listing their property 3 days ago, actually. And so I went to the listing interview and I talked to the person and so on. And as I'm going through just asking them about what do they know about the markets, what do they know about this, what are they seeing here, what are they understanding, things like that, because they hadn't sold for a while, he immediately said, oh, well, what's your price? And I was like, what do you mean, what's my price? And he said, well, what do you charge? And I was like, well, first of all, I just need to understand a few things. Like, are you trying to get the most amount of money for your home in the least amount of time? Are you willing to wait? Like, what's your plan here? And the reason I ask those questions are they're discovery questions. You have to figure out who you're dealing with and how to handle their objections or rebuttals or whatever.
You don't
know what the job is until you know more about it. You can't just be like, this is what my price is.
But so here's what happens. He's like, well, I've interviewed a bunch of agents, and the best one I got was 2%. If you'll do it for 2%, then I'll go ahead and work with you. I said, how many people did you interview? And he said, I interviewed, you would be 4. I go, okay, you need to call those people back and tell them you're done. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, well, let me ask you a question. These agents, they sit in front of you, they talk to you, they negotiate with you, or they say, this is what I charge. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to happen if they can't even negotiate with you at the table when they're actually trying to sell your home? Do you think
that's
they're
a good argument.
Do you think they're a good negotiator?
That's a fair point.
And he's like, that's a really good point. I'm like, listen, I don't care who you hire in regards to as long as you get the job done, because that's what's important to you. It's not about my pocketbook. It's about what I do. It's about what I bring to the table. And I told him all these things and so on. And I said, listen, you have a decision to make. I'm 3.5%. You don't like that? No problem. Go ahead and find the other realtor. I wish you the very best of luck. If you want the best, this is what I cost. And he signed the piece of paper.
Which is, I'm thrilled that he did for him. All right. But the real thing comes into exactly what I just said. You got to give that teeth. You got to go ahead and let people know why and what is the value. It's once I've I keep getting into arguments with other home inspectors, across the nation. They keep saying, "Oh, everybody just wants a cheap price, a cheap price, a cheap price." Baloney. They want the best value. They want to know who their protectors are. They want to know somebody's going to be there and guide them in the right direction and not try and just get their money, and this is a very personal thing, buying a house. And yes, I am getting a little passionate and worked up right now, but it is a big deal.
It's a huge deal, and for a peace of mind,
That's fine.
and for a peace of mind, you're going to spend a certain amount on an attorney. You're going to spend a certain amount on the agent that's selling your house. You're going to spend a certain amount of money on a inspector.
But it's my job to prove my worth.
It's absolutely. But the thing is, too, is the fact that, there's cheaper everywhere.
Yeah.
We all know that. But are you really going to do that? Is that really a good idea in regards to you selling or buying probably the most expensive asset you ever will?
But there's also a lot of people out there that are doing that bait and switch things that you guys mentioned earlier.
Sure.
Let me give you the low ball because I know that's what you want. You want cheap, cheap, cheap. So I'll give you that. And then all of a sudden, we get to the finish line. Yeah, there is a bird in here. Thank you. And we get to the finish line, and guess what?
Joe, you can have that dad joke. I don't have any kids to make it to, so.
I love it. I'll use it later.
Oh, that sounded.
Yeah, right.
I'm really pleased about that. Charlie, you were saying?
Nothing at all. I know. So, just for all of our listeners out there, I want you to know Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law does not like boomers. All right, he hates us like there's no.
Not. That is
He does
true.
not. That's not true.
If
likes
you
to show.
hate a sense of humor, you are not going to like working with me. So just know that in advance.
Oh, that is so true and stuff like that. I can't say it. But, and this is where I think many people in the real estate profession fail. I mean, Steve, what you just said there about, negotiating and opening people's eyes up and giving them that education, that should be in writing. That should be in a video. That should be something that is consistent and that message can be repeated to every single person that's searching. All right, and then you should be able to automate that so they can get that instantly. That's what I did.
And here's the thing, and some people still are like, no, that's not,
That's fine.
And that's fine. You have every right to choose anything you want.
Absolutely. I do. Everybody that calls our business does not hire us. We and contrary to you, I am not on the referral network. We do market on Yelp and Google and things like that. I go straight after the consumer. In fact, I was just telling you guys earlier, I got my nasty gram written out to the real estate agents, because I get all huffy pants at the ones that come out and they're like, I'm not going to refer you to my clients, all right? That I don't want to do because you kill deals or whatever. But I'm buying a house and I want you to come and do my inspection, And I'm like, no, we're not going to do it. If I'm not good enough for your clients, then I'm not good enough for you. In other words, you're not good enough for me. All right? And the bottom line is everybody should be focusing on one person, and that's going to be the home buyer or seller, whoever your client is. And you need to be smart enough, knowledgeable enough, experienced enough, and quite frankly, honest enough. I'm sorry. Yes, I am getting worked up. To go ahead and put their interest over your interest. The money will come. And Patrick's laughing at me because I'm getting worked up.
It's called the I'm petty disclaimer.
I'm petty then. There's my disclaimer.
Well, I don't think it's wrong for you to be as passionate and as worked up as you get, because the fact is that that's reality. And when you're passionate and you care and you really want the best for someone or something or the situation, then that makes you a good person, not someone who is, I should be sorry, in my opinion, Charlie. So
No,
I'm not sorry.
And I'm glad about all that stuff. And you got to remember, when I talk to the client, I'm the tail end guy, right? You three are in the beginning of the process. I'm at the end.
He's in the middle.
All right, middle end, whatever, beginning and end, where
I'm
it
the
comes in
lucky
there.
Pierre.
He's
But
the
when I'm
lucky-
having my,
I don't know if I can say that one, but that's all right. I think it slipped through.
when I'm having my Zoom calls with the clients, and I listen to what they're telling me about their experiences with all three attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage brokers. I mean, you guys get referrals from me. You don't get referrals from me because I'm out there looking for jobs for you. You get referrals from me because I hear bad actors to my clients, and these deals are going south, all right? And they're going south because the professional they hired was horrible, All right, and I'm glad. I am thrilled that I got to know all three of you. I'm thrilled that I realize you have the same passion in this stuff that I do. All right,
Appreciate that.
and it makes it easy. And then you make me look good when I send those things off to you guys. So
And you make us look good because your company is very, very
this is
thorough.
getting into a love fest
Hey,
right now.
hey, you know.
Patrick,
Charlie
say
does all
something.
of our inspections
It's
in my
all
family. I'll tell you
about
that
the
right
love.
now.
Patrick, say something to get us off track, please.
Well,
I hate boomers. Let's talk about old people.
you know, yeah, I could say something about how the fact that your garage urinal was not
I don't have a urinal in my
Yes, you
garage.
do. Stop
not-
denying.
Not even up to code.
was not permitted.
It isn't.
Where is
That's why he
urinal
keeps
code?
saying he doesn't have it. You
Yeah.
know that.
There is no urinal in my garage.
You know that man
Yeah,
rocks
keep
the
telling county.
urinal.
Keep telling county.
That's right.
I got a call into the village.
He is a
Wilmette.
boomer, so he thinks everyone listens. And
Yeah,
We do all listen in.
yeah. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't make a good argument. He just gets
Alexa,
louder and louder.
stop listening
Oh
to
my
me.
God, that's true. Louder, and I enunciate the syllables when I
Yeah.
get worked up. Holy cow.
Especially when you have. I don't know. I
Do you know who you're talking about?
Oh my god.
Do you know who you're talking to?
Exactly. I don't do that. You know who I am. That I don't do. You know.
You don't know who I am. Oh, this is gonna go so badly
Oh,
for you.
I'm serious. This is awesome.
No, but it is about knowledge is power. It really is. And I do have to say the best thing that I ever did in our company is put everything in writing. Because when somebody's out there looking for a home inspector, yeah, they could go to the real estate agent and they could say, who do you refer? And you know, there's good and bad in everybody. And yes, I am prejudiced against real estate agents. I am so sorry. I am. But you're not a
Charlie, we
protected
know.
class, so I don't have to worry about going to jail.
We're not a protected
Charlie,
class. Is
not.
that what you
Charlie,
said?
did
you
just
literally
say that.
wrote it into your
I did.
engagement literature that says
Yeah.
Not
If
a
you're
protected
real estate
class.
agent that
Yes.
hires me, but you don't refer your clients.
I
then
got snotty.
I don't want to work with you.
That's exactly what it is, just like a little baby boy.
That's what you
And
sound
I'm all
like.
right with all that stuff, all right?
Oh man.
But what I've been finding is that, you know, I mean, people, real estate agents actually ask me, you know, when you talk to them and you try to build a relationship and you want to work with them, one of the, you always the first questions are the important ones. How many issues do you put in your report? I get asked that a lot. And if I say more than 15,
1 million issues.
oh my God, with the pinky at the check mark. If I say more than 15, people, well, that's too many, we're not going to refer you. Who the hell do you think you are?
So you want to
saying
buy
what
a
you
piece
want
of
for your
crap? Is that
client?
what your
no,
answer?
they want
I
their
mean,
client to buy a piece of crap.
right. But
You know?
I mean, so yeah, if a realtor is saying that, first of all, please get out of my business.
Oh
For
my
the
God,
love of
yes,
God.
but they are,
Get out
and
of my
they've been in the
business.
business for a long time.
Yeah,
all
well,
right?
they're not very
The next
successful.
one- the next one, they go, are you a deal killer? Well, that's all, or a nitpicker or whatever the case is. I'm going to make a long list. It's not my decision what somebody else should accept or not accept. It's my job to give them a list of the condition of that house. And I want people to make it. Now, tell me this. You've worked with other home inspectors, Steve.
Never.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
And
Steve
and
only
I
hires you
think
for
our
his
list
own
might
deals.
be
He
a little
doesn't
bit longer and
recommend you.
stuff like that. Does that make more work for you?
I can't. I'm sorry, I missed that. Patrick was talking. Excuse me. Please repeat.
We make a longer list on our inspections.
Yes.
Does that make more work for you trying to explain the importance of these issues to your clients, or does it make less work? And I'm fine either way.
So that's an interesting question.
It depends.
It's when you talk to the person the next day and you say, okay, let's go over the report, this, that, whatever. Sure, there might be a few more items I have to look over, but I appreciate the thoroughness and my clients appreciate the thoroughness. And I don't think it's more work. I think it's actually better. And the reason being is even if it takes another 3 minutes to explain something or whatever it is, or there's more that's found, that's good because I don't want my clients buying something that is not a good fit for them. And I've told clients before, they're like, what's your opinion? I go, I think you should walk. I just don't, there's way too many issues. And it has nothing to do with the inspector blowing up the deal. It has to do with the fact that what the findings were in the house. If you're buying a property and you're spending a lot of money and you have the
Certain
the
expectations.
professionals that are helping you, you should expect professionalism out of all 4 people you're working with, or 3 if it's a cash deal. But the point is, sorry.
Wow.
I had a feeling as soon as I said that. But the point is that do I think it's more work? Do I think does it make more of a headache for me, Charlie? No, I'm not your average agent. I'm not going to be an agent that's going to be like, oh, this guy's going to be deal killer, this, that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The fact is that if you're thorough and you do a good job and you explain things the right way, and especially with the Zoom aspect that you do, that makes a huge difference for my clients. And it makes a huge difference to me because I know you're taking care of my clients.
And this message here is to the real estate agents that don't want the headaches, all
There we
right?
go.
Yeah, here it comes. Hang on,
Jeez.
folks. Patrick, I'm getting louder. All right?
Boomer,
Okay.
boomer noises.
I actually,
incoming.
no, Boomer
He's
just
so
forgot what he was
quiet.
going to say that quick.
Oh, pathetic.
You know, how about that one? Take that.
Joey, do you when
See,
when
why would
someone
you not
comes-
like boomers if they don't remember what they're going to say?
I can't remember. Joey, when someone comes
Yes,
to
dear.
you and they're not just like a strictly W-2, I make tons of money and have, almost no debt. Let's say they come to you and they're self-employed and their situation's a little bit complicated. Do you just like chuck them to the curb and go, you know what, you're too much trouble. I'd rather work with really simple loans. Or do you dig in and help those people too?
It depends on if they're as snooty as the way you just presented that, because if they're that snooty and they're self-employed and they don't want to give me docs, I'm not going to work with them. I will not work with anybody who is not going to get a real pre-approval.
That's what I'm on the same page.
Why would you? That's ridiculous.
Because you're desperate. That's why. Because people need the jobs. When you're busy
No.
enough,
What I'm saying about is
you
the
don't need 'em.
pre-approval. You need a pre-approval before you go see homes. Period.
But there's
you
real
need
estate agents that are showing houses without them.
That's illegal.
Huh?
Well, that's not
and there's
illegal.
lenders who
That's
are
not
issuing
illegal,
them.
but the
That's not
buyer rep
illegal.
agreement is illegal.
There's lenders that'll issue a pre-approval without docs. Like I see it all the time, and it
Whoa,
drives
whoa.
me insane.
But you're
How
so
can
this-
you even do something like that? That just seems
Because
so
they
wrong.
want to work with the agent and
They'll
their
figure it out
clients.
later. They'll figure it out later.
Desperation, exactly.
And then they don't figure it out. They go, sorry. No,
If it's a
my bad."
repeat client of mine, I will tell you, if it's a repeat client of mine and I know they're not going anywhere and they're loyal, right? I will show them a house before they're pre-approved just to get them to start looking again. But it all depends on what it is. It depends on how many homes. It depends on where it's at, right? But the fact is like, I've done that before where I'm like, hey, I'm going to send you a buyer rep agreement. I need you to just sign it. I'll get it to you tomorrow. Let's check this house out and whatever, right? You're not supposed to do that, but at the same time, if I know that they're going to buy, I know that they're good without a pre-approval, then I may, take a minute just to show them the property or whatever. So
I'd show Moneybags Bellefontaine a home without a pre-approval just because I know he's got garage urinal money.
that is true.
This dude's loaded. But Joey, just
What do you
just-
charge again for people to use that off the street?
Seriously, what is that?
I think it's got like a change
It's a coin.
machine.
It's a coin.
Yeah,
Coin.
it's like a
Operated,
buck,
right?
It's $1.25.
It's like the plexiglass comes over it to cover you. Put the coin in, it
Charlie comes out and gives you a little
Not
shoulder
a
rub.
urinal in my garage.
Lies. But
lies.
Joey, just to be clear, I mean, what we're talking about is it's really, it's not about how difficult the file that comes to you is going to be. The way you're sifting through that is more like how serious
is the buyer.
the borrower
I'm not going to waste my
shows
time.
their
I'm
intentions.
not wasting my family's time. I'm not wasting Steve's time. I'm not wasting a list agent's time. I'm not wasting anybody's time on someone who's not serious.
But if I've
I
got a
refuse to do
complicated
it.
file, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Joey, what do you need for me to to move forward on this? And I send it to you the next day. And you're like, this is awfully complicated, but we can walk you through. You're not kicking me to the curb. You're going, all right, we
Absolutely
can work
not.
with this. So,
Correct.
The point
Are we talking
is,
about you or are we talking about someone else?
We're talking about Joey Mathews, the VA loaner.
No. Are we
loaner
talking
on
about
all
you
socials.
as the person?
I
that
just can't wait to
Joey?
get BJ's tax returns and see just how complicated he thinks he is. It's gonna
I
be fun.
mean, I got all that TikTok money coming in. Just wait.
You guys did say something that
And I got
kind of struck me a
crypto.
little bit.
Charlie's trying to be.
No,
Serious.
this is
3 minutes
important
left.
where
Here
it
we
comes
go.
into this stuff because you're talking about doing the job, doing it right, and getting all your ducks in a row and doing stuff in advance, and I'm not going to work with somebody if they're not going to do this. Here's the bottom line. We ended up getting burned by other people. Like, I get people questioning me that I want payment up front, all right? I've had people make appointments with our company, and then they don't show. I sent a home inspector out there to do the inspection, and the appointment's been canceled. No agreement signed, no money up front. So what happens now, because of those bad people that exist out there, that everybody else has to suffer. So now I need to protect my employees, I need to protect my company, and I have to get the money up front. And same thing with the pre-approvals that Joey's got. It's not that he's being a bad guy at all. It's just that people will lie. They will say that they make
Liars are liars?
200,000,
What?
and they don't. And then all of a sudden, the good people get punished by this. I get it. It's not fair, but that is life, And we all have to. And I want somebody who's going to go ahead and make sure that the clients are ready to go, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and that they're going to take care of their clients and put their interests first.
Personal responsibility. Charlie Bellefontaine is a big personal responsibility
No
guy.
boomers.
That is very much as
I don't think it's a boomer thing.
the boomer energy is just like.
Is it boomer energy?
It is now.
Yeah, well, it's like
These whippersnappers come in here and picking on us like there's no tomorrow.
they didn't
See,
know
here he goes.
everything that they were supposed to know, and even
This
though
is
I
why
didn't
people
tell
don't
them,
like him. And attorneys, they all hate you.
That's a very strong word.
Hate?
Yeah.
All right, they dislike you quite immensely.
All right.
Is that
a little.
better?
That's a little better.
Is it?
It could be. All right, we are getting towards the end of this hour and stuff like that. I apologize for everybody for me getting all worked up. Obviously, a bunch of things have happened
I also apologize for
I
Charlie.
do apologize as well.
for Charlie.
Joey?
I like to party.
Way to close it up. That's all good.
Charlie doesn't know that one. I think if we go any longer, we have to pay for that. So Devin's nodding his head yes.
Unbelievable. Steve, if you don't mind, give us your contact information so we can wrap this up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
That just cost you $50.
Steve Davis, Real Brokerage, Kamar Group. You can find me on socials. You can find me, you can call me, 312-513-6314. If you have any real estate questions or needs, feel free.
Sounds good. Patrick, please.
Patrick Loftus, real estate lawyer. If you want hard-hitting real estate talk, find me on social media, TikTok, Loftus Law, Instagram, Loftus_law. Follow me on YouTube at Loftus Law.
And Joey?
Joey Mathews, VA Loan Nerd. You can follow me as the VA Loan Nerd on all the social medias. You could call or text me at 630-235-2405. You can go to thevaloannerd.com.
And you can get hold of everybody at the ChicagoHousingExperts.com. And we want to get you into our community section where you can start asking questions. You'll also be notified every time we go live right here, right now, over YouTube, Facebook, and stuff on Wednesday mornings. And any questions that you ask there or problems that you have, we'll address them, but we'll also bring them up on the air here and just share that knowledge with as many people as we can. My name is Charlie Bellefontaine. I'd like to give special thank you to Devin Tingle. He's the one that makes everything work. And I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number, this also shows that I'm kind of a boomer, doesn't it? You guys are giving out all Instagram and TikToks and MySpaces and whatever
geez.
those things are.
Even the way you talk about it is just so.
You're giving all that out, and I'm giving a phone number. So our number is 312-544-9180.
Landlines only.
And I think